Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Divya Navle, and I'm really glad to be hosting this webinar as a part of the BITSA Sahai webinar series with Empower. I'm 2003 A4PS 297, and we initiated Project Sahai with BITSA in October 2020. And so this is our third or fourth webinar, I guess. And
Yes.
very exciting to have two amazing speakers. We are breaking away from our regular routine of focusing more on the science of mental well-being and going towards a little bit about exploring, like in this particular session, we're talking about the connection between physical and mental well-being and how physical well-being can promote mental health as well. So for that, I have two amazing speakers, as I mentioned. Divita and Shravani, thank you both for making time today. Really excited to hear all you have to say and learning from you. So our first speaker is going to be Divita. So I'm gonna give a little background on Divita Rao. So Devita completed her master's in psychology from the University of Delhi and went on to pursue an advanced diploma in guidance and counseling from also NIPPCD in Delhi. She's a ICI licensed rehabilitation counselor, and she's currently working as a psychologist with BITS Pilani Goa campus. She has pursued her PhD in mass communication from IIMC, and she has presented a number of research papers at various national and international conferences. She's also a member of the Indian Association of Applied Psychology and has been trained at NIE PMD. Devita has been an amazing speaker with us before, talking about several ways to, kind of improve mental well-being, especially for students. And she specifically worked in the space for children with learning disabilities and providing a lot of support through a number of workshops to even corporates like Microsoft, Google, American Center, to name a few. So it's very exciting, Devita, that you're back with us for this presentation. So I'll let you go ahead and talk to us about what you have to share today. Thank you again
Yes.
for being.
Thank you so much, Divya. Thank you so much. And I'm always amazed, the time that we have in that you kind of incorporate the introductions and then you kind of let us have the time for webinar. It's so wonderful the way you manage it all. So thank you so much. Okay. So let's begin with today's topic. So we have a wonderful expert with us, and she's going to be definitely following after what I have to share on the topic. And then she's going to be sharing wonderful insights on how actually to go about the whole physical activity and exercise. So I'll begin with it. I'll start sharing my screen. I'll share a PPT, and meanwhile, at the end we'll also have questions. If anybody wants to have any particular questions related to this topic, because this topic is very focused, and so it's wonderful if we can have exclusive, like if people have faced any difficulties and they really want to know about it, this is actually the platform. If they can open up a bit about it, and then we'll go about that. Okay, so I'll just start sharing my screen. Let's begin it. Okay, so now when we understand that somehow we all have the idea that, what, mental health is definitely related to the physical activity, and we all have this idea that, yeah, we should be going to the gym and we should be taking that walk, and it somehow helps in mood, and it somehow helps you get rid of the depression and the anxiety and all that feeling. But what exactly comes as a hiccup in all of that, on all that situation? So let's dive into it and let's understand. So I will begin with the first of all giving an idea on what exactly do we mean by mental health. So what exactly we think mental health is all about. So see, mental health, and here I would also like to, if somebody can unmute and let's make it very, let's participate in it. If someone wants to go ahead and share what exactly do they mean by mental health, it will be wonderful. And if nobody wants to come forward, let's then go ahead with it. So mental health basically involves, um, it has various components in it that consist of your emotional and mental well-being. So relationships are one, healthy lifestyle is one, leisure time is one, and personal goals for your own self is also another one, right? So why do I think mental health is very important is mental health includes all these components. Then comes the healthy lifestyle is where the physical aspect comes in, and somehow the physical activity has an impact over all these components that we see here listed out, right? It's not just, and as it is rightly put, and it's not just merely the absence of any mental disorder or any illness. It exists on a continuum. So some days it's going to be a very good and flourishing mental well-being today. It's an average today, and then somewhere it will stoop low, and then it will come back again. So it's all about restoring that balance of your mental well-being. So while we are on this journey, we also realize that there are times when there are barriers as well. When we are going through this whole physical well-being and mental health, importance of mental health as well. So I think we also need to understand what exactly are those barriers and how have we faced that. There must have been times when we've all faced this, right? I wonder, I think this.
Did Divita just drop off?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Let me check with her. Maybe it's just a connection issue. Hey, Divita, are you back? Divita, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I think I had a little hiccup
I thought
there.
due to
I'll
connection
just,
issue, I suppose.
yeah.
Let's go. Yeah, go back to where you were.
Okay, fine. So let's also then understand that, when we have all these barriers, I hope you can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So it's very important that when we have way to understand the barriers also. So even when we know the benefits of physical activity and how it can improve the lives of many people, we all of them, we still face certain barriers and which prevents us from doing it. Now these barriers can be recognized as either physical, psychological, or socio-ecological also. And this has got all to do with, and sometimes, so as you see here, as you see that there are psychological barriers, there are socioeconomic barriers. So sometimes I feel that things are too costly or there is lack of social support, and at the core of it all there are three other factors as well, which I believe is very important. So physical image, how I'm viewing myself, how how am I viewing that maybe I have a body image issue, or maybe I also have that excess weight. Then there is fatigue. It seems like I never have the time, I'm always tired, and I'm always I just don't have enough time to incorporate that because I'm really tired that day. Mental exhaustion. Environment, so people fear that they will be recognized by other people in their neighborhood. So can I go? So sometimes when I'm struggling with my own mental health, these all becomes like a barrier for me to start putting myself out there, and this kind of prevents me from taking some action. And that's why there is always that hiccup in my, or a roadblock in my growth. So if any of you recognize that these are the barriers, it's very important. Any one point also is a barrier for you. If you can take that one point out also, it will be very helpful that you become aware of it and consider the benefit of entertaining that. The idea of physical activity, what is my idea around it, how do I view it, what is it that I'm telling around physical activity to myself. uh, that is very important for us to understand, because the minute I get to know my barriers around it, I get to do something about it. Now let's also understand that basically what benefits do I have in picture if I'm actually doing, if I'm actually being a part of this whole physical activity and mental health movement. So, okay, does someone have something to say?
I think there's a question in the chat.
Okay, mm, look at the questions at the end. Yes, definitely, we'll take that.
We'll look
So,
at the questions at the end. Yes.
yeah. So let's understand then what are the impact of being physically active and how does it impact my mental health. So as we are all aware, it is a huge mood booster. Your moods is always in balance, your sleep is always improved, it makes you feel very happy at the end of the day. There are feel good hormones, you manage your stress, anxiety, and then you always somehow incorporate the time to have more physical activity in your life, because you know the importance of it all, the impact it's having on your emotional and mental well-being. There is increased self-esteem, there are lower risk of having dementia, and there is lower risk of having the cognitive decline that you might face in your life. And these are the wonderful impact. I'm sure most of us are aware of it, but it's always good to be reminded of that yes, these are the benefits that I'm looking at. Then let's understand that if these are the benefits and I know the barriers, so how does mental health is actually gets impacted by doing any sort of physical activity, right? So what you see here, so any this whole mechanism which occurs with so many benefits that are already in place, uh, you know the mechanism which is behind all of this is the there are two components to it: the physical component, the physiological component, and the psychological component. Now the psychological component is distraction and self-efficacy. So the more I'm going to practice, the more I'm going to take physical activity, the more self-efficient is what I'm going to feel, the more confidence. So confidence is a trait which I already have. It varies. Either I'm low on confidence or I'm high on confidence. Then this is one thing when I already have that trait, being self-sufficient makes me more confident in approaching this new activity that I've started for myself. Right. Then there is a aspect which is called which is distraction, right? So distraction, when there is a combination of psychological and physiological aspect, distraction is thought to be achieved through individuals moving away and diverting your attention from all that stressful situation, which in turn helps in achieving the improved affect is basically emotions. So improved emotions is associated with the exercise bit. So this is how I'm distracting myself into getting into a wonderful mood. I'm distracting and diverting my attention from the stressful situation. This is where the psychological aspect comes into the picture. Then there are physiological aspects. So what are those physiological aspects? Most importantly, this is your dopamine hit. This is where you get your daily dopamine dosage, the endorphins, the happy hormones get going in your body, which means the body perceives that, what, there is not enough threat, there is actually no threat. And interestingly, there's been research recently which says that the more exercise you do or the more physical activity that you are engaged in, your amygdala sort of shrinks, because amygdala is a place which recognizes the stress in your system and is very active when it sees threats and threat and the danger in the environment. If you're more stressed, amygdala will be very active. The more proactive it is, the more edgy it will be. Now, amygdala gets the time to rest and it shrinks. Actually, the researchers have shown the more you engage in that, amygdala shrinks. And then when there is no stress, of course, the mood is boosted. That is one. Then there is something called monoamines. Now, this is the thought where exercise increases the availability of the neurotransmitters in your brain. Now, when the neurotransmitters, this is one of that, and then endorphins we've talked about. Thermogenesis, what exactly is that? So it relates to thermogenesis relates to the production of the body. Physical activity increases the body temperature. Okay, and exercise is thought to release a great sense of relaxation and improved mood. The minute your body temperature rises, there is great sense of relaxation, and there is great sense of, have you had that runner's high or yogic tranquility? It always happens when you push yourself into an activity, remain consistent with it, and you get to see the results. So this is what is happening physiologically in your body, which is creating creating this impact on your brain that, you know what, emotional well-being and mental well-being is within my control and it is within my reach. Nothing is out of control or going out of balance. I'm not being overwhelmed. I know where to take decisions. So then we've discussed about amygdala. Let's also then discuss how is my brain getting a boost out of it, right? So I'll move on to the next one. Let's understand, let's see this one, right? So researchers are still teasing out critical factors that make exercise such a potent brain tonic. Okay, so the increase in the blood flow to the brain, it surges the growth hormones and expansion of brain's network of the blood vessels. It is also possible that exercise stimulates the birth of new neurons. Okay, and until recently, few believe that this could happen in adult human brains, but recently the research has been showing that it is possible. Another thing is asking yourself the right questions. Let's say if what asking yourself the possibility, because a lot of time we're stuck in the negative cycle. Okay, now how do I get out of that negative cycle that I've been stuck in? And a lot of time that is like an impediment to even move forward. So there is something called first of all, if you want to know your attitude towards physical activity and how can you improve that, in the reference I'm going to give you a scale which you can actually assessment which you can have an access to and try to find out what are my views around it. Then second of all, asking yourself the right question. So what about the situation is making me very scared? What about the situation which is making me feel that I'm afraid of change? What about me assuming other people's feeling? Why am I assuming other people's feeling? Why can't they be with their own feelings? Is it necessary for me to assume that? Right? That is one of the very important at the core of it. And finally, asking the possibility questions is very important. So is there a possibility that does that mean, so if I feel very much stuck in the past, so this is how the negative thought cycle is actually working, and very important to question and challenge your thoughts. So does that mean the situation that I'm in, so there are 5 components to it. So what am I feeling, what am I thinking, what is the situation like, how am I going to challenge the thought, and what is the outcome of it all? Okay, so ask yourself in that situation, so is there a possibility that maybe perhaps it's not me being stuck in the past, perhaps it's me moving towards a new future, perhaps it's me. So we have our reptilian brain is so adapt to the idea of romanticizing with our past. We constantly keep it as a reference, past as a reference, and that is why the negative thought cycle is constantly on and on. What we actually could do is, and imagination comes in handy, romanticizing with the future. So what is it, where do you see yourself, get that momentum going? How do you feel happy? How do you think what will give you happiness? Can you romanticize that idea for a little bit? Give yourself some 17 seconds, give yourself some 20-25 seconds, romanticize that idea of future, have that future reference for yourself, and then come back here. Because all the while what we do is we remain in the negativity by constantly having reference to the past. So this could be one of the very important questions that you can ask yourself. Understand whether has it been my body image issues? Has this been going on for how long? Has it been going on? Can I do something about it? Right? And asking yourself the question, so where did I get the idea that I'm supposed to be following someone else's timeline? Is that got to do something with it? And why am I getting insecure? Why am I not taking that first step? So this is cognitively, how do you create a change for you to be able to move ahead? Right? I'm not checking the chat right now. Fine, I'll see it in the end. Sure. So don't mind. Please keep on writing there. Then another thing could be, where did I get the idea? Very importantly, ask yourself, where did I get the idea that certain bodies are good, bad, and certain bodies are worthy? And where did I get the idea that my body is not worthy? My body is not good. Where did I get the idea? Ask yourself this question. Then, do I really believe that human beings are inherently made to be better than another? Is that the reality that I believe in? Ask yourself this and see, wait for it. What answer does it come up with? Because a lot of time we get attuned to the idea that am I being judging my own self? Am I the one who is constantly judging other people and saying, oh, I'm being judged or people judge? So it challenges your belief, the belief that you hold, and then the thought around it changes. Then you ask yourself, am I assuming that I can't change? In fact, that I'm assuming that I can't change is exactly one of the factors which is becoming a hurdle for me to change. So is it that? What are the ideas around the change that I have? What are the ideas around going for a physical activity or around body image that I have? Is that really true? Always asking, is that really true? Where did I learn that? And then again, success. Sometimes I measure other people working out so well as success, but see, I am not success. So what is my idea of success? Again, why am I borrowing someone else's timeline? Is it true? What is my success, and what can I do to be in alignment with my idea of success? That will give you a lot many insights. So this is the way you basically cater to that negative thought cycle, if that is becoming one of the impediments to understand, to move towards a better mental health. Okay, so could be around the physical activity as well. So one of the important thing that I want to share in the end is this one of the mental health checkup toolkit, which is very important. You see there are 4 components to it. DART is what the acronym comes out for it. So what suits you in that moment? Look for it. So what am I feeling like? Do I feel like relaxation? Is this something which involves a thinking process? So let me think about it. Let me challenge it. So I've given you questions like along that line you can go. Maybe this is the time for me to just simply relax. I simply need to do the breath work right now. I simply need to do that. Do I need to have some healthy distraction right now? Maybe I can go and take a walk. Maybe I can just simply go out and appreciate flowers. Maybe I can simply go out and play with my pet. Gardening is one. Then is action. So what is that action? Can I do something about it? So physical activity is exactly this. So when you start taking action for yourself, that is when you're giving yourself hope that yes, actions are manageable, actions are changeable. There's a difference, identity and the action. So identity, sometimes we say, oh, I'm a failure. So the minute I say I'm a failure, I'm so attached to that identity. Now it's stuck to my identity. It's very difficult to change. When I say I failed, that is action. Now, action is something which is manageable. Action is something which you can change. You can do something about it. So definitely, if I do something about it, there has to be a different outcome to it. There is your hope. So understand to detach things from your identity and move towards action. That is one, right? And before I hand over to Shravani, I would also like to, I have few references. So this is one of the physical activity screening question that I've already referred here. If you can go through it and if you can actually go and check these websites out, it will actually be very helpful for you, people who are struggling to want to do physical activity, but somehow they're not able to start with it. So this is, if you can take a screenshot of it, or it would be really very much helpful, right? So this is, I would like to end here, and I would like to now, ask Shravani to come in.
Thank you, Devita. That was really insightful, and I think you covered a number of aspects. Basically, it went beyond saying that it's just about physical activity, but also like providing inputs on how to overcome the issues we feel in trying to even do some physical activity. I think that's very, very important. And I have personally experienced the runner's high and dancer's high, and I can definitely vouch for the fact that, I think the more you do it, the more you feel like you can overcome those, shortcomings you feel about yourself, your body, and, about anybody, else, what they're thinking, etc., etc. So it's just about like starting with something, and then slowly you'll get there. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And look, and thank you so much for sharing that toolkit, DART. That was really insightful. I hope that we can make it available, probably in the form of a poster or something, to students as well in the future.
Sure.
Okay, so I believe there are 2 questions. Would it be easier if we do these questions now, just while you're at it, for continuing?
Okay.
Then we go to Shravani at one go. Yeah.
Sure,
So
sure, definitely.
first
Yes.
question is from HP is how to overcome the environment barriers.
Okay, so environmental barriers. Let me know what actually resonated with you when you were able to. I'm sure this point kind of resonated. So, what about barriers, environmental barriers? Not enough resources, or there will be people who will recognize me. There will be somebody who's out there. What if my neighbors maybe? Is it that? What exactly in the environment is kind of bothering? It'll help me, otherwise I can what people think. Okay, so what people are thinking. All right, so have you ever been outside, and well, do you like the nature or do you like gym more? What do you prefer? Mhm. Okay. So when you're out there in nature, so with nature, it's very interesting. I'll tell you, rhythm. We're all in the. Sometimes this is how we become aware the cycle and the rhythm. So we're so very intertwined with the rhythm of the nature, and we're so that is why we have when we say holistic approach, or when we say that you have to become a whole being. That is the whole idea that nature these days, when you see that the season is changing, something within you says that, you know what, I just feel like going out and taking that walk. I just feel like going out and appreciating nature. And this is the simple desire which is present in all of those human beings. Every one of us has that desire, especially right now when the spring is there out there. It's just coming around the corner. So when we first of all is to recognize that all of us has the same desire. Okay, what people are thinking is, first of all, realize, am I projecting? Ask yourself this question. What are people thinking? Maybe they're looking at me and they're judging me. Maybe they know something about my story. Maybe they're like, maybe he or she has a mental history, and they know what my mental health issues are. What if they get to know about it? So the idea is then to, I would like you to break that resistance, and I would like you to question yourself on that. Is that really true? Do you really think that everybody who's out there, who's running with you, or who's just taking that walk, are they absolutely perfect? Are they completely fine? Because one thing that we all strive for is perfection in our lives. Am I also striving for perfection, or am I simply, I believe that you only have to be perfect, only then you will have to go out? What is it? So I want you to challenge your thoughts here. So what are people thinking? People are thinking maybe about their schedule today. What are you thinking? Start with that. What am I thinking right now? The minute I start, I'm in that rhythm of actually going on that run and actually taking that brisk walk. What am I thinking at that moment? Perhaps then you'll realize, yes, I have the songs, songs playing, but then I also realize, oh, I have these deadlines to meet. I have to prepare my dinner. I have to meet this friend of mine. I have this gathering with my cousins, this family event. So many things are going on. This is the internal chatter and internal dialogue which is constantly going on. The same is with that person. How do you think that person is very different from you? We're so occupied in that mental chatter and internal chatter and the to-do list that we always have to accomplish. We don't really have the time to think that what this other person is thinking in front of me. That is one. This is how you actually challenge. This is how you challenge the narrative. Then you ask yourself, where did I learn what people will think? What is about, because we all are part of that social constructionism. When we're all part of that social constructionism, what was my narrative? What did I say around this story as a child? Who did I learn it from? There must have been somebody from whom I learned that what do people think is very important. Then ask yourself, can I drop it? Am I allowed to drop it? Maybe I'm not giving the permission to myself to even drop it. Is it okay if I drop it here? If I go ahead, if I drop it, that it's not my concern what people are thinking. It's really not my concern. It's my concern to be very aware of my feelings and emotions and not be projecting onto them. And the same is their concern, right? Okay, so I would want you to give me some examples here so that I can really address this to you. What do you find hard about dropping this whole belief? Okay, till then, let me take that. Don't you think physical activities are adversely affected if you are not mentally stable? How do you prepare your mind to do physical activity if you're not okay? So there could be severe damage to the body if you're talking about, if you've had if physical activity is adversely impacting your body, or if you feel that what do you mean by not mentally stable? I would really like to get a more better picture on this one if you could. If I challenge my thought, I will get stuck with it. If you get challenged in your thought and you're feeling you will get stuck with it, you're perhaps on the line of overthinking. You're not challenging your thought actually. You've taken that road of overthinking then. And then you're overthinking about why am I overthinking? And then that is how it continues. So the whole idea is to, if you have to challenge your thought, always ask, is that really true? What I'm believing right now, is that really true? So I'll tell you how funnily it works is, we all believe that, you know what, people have such fancy cars and he or she has that and such status symbol and everything. Or he or she has a wonderful watch and, I just wish if I could have it. Oh, if I was that successful. So this is the story that I'm telling myself. But who told you so? Isn't that car that is there, that vehicle in front of you is a tool for transportation? So don't you have anything around you which tells you that, are you not being transported in one way or the other? If whatever medium that you're taking, are you not being, the basic function is to transport. You're being transported when you're being taken care of. Then what is the insecurity? Am I actually wanting to living up to someone else's idea? Then this is not my timeline perhaps. Watch, well, the basic function of a watch is to actually show you the time. Whether I have this big one or a little one or the one in my phone, how does it matter? It's show the basic function of it is to show you the time, correct time, if at it. So if it is doing its job, why am I not doing my job to accept what is being given to me? That is one. Because if I'm constantly in the paranoia, I'm always being paranoid by the comparison that I'm doing. So when you say that I'm challenging, I have to challenge my thought and I get stuck with it, realize maybe there is a need to constantly, why am I thinking so, why am I thinking so? So maybe it's actually the overthinking bit. So when you say I have OCD, okay, fine. I think with OCD, what particularly pertaining to physical activity, if you could be more specific, because then I think this one I'll have to take separately with you before, because since we also have Shravani to discuss in detail.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. That was very insightful. Overthinking about overthinking. That's an important thing that we need to catch ourselves before we go down that rabbit hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we will move to Shravani for now so that we have enough time. There's one more question, but we'll take it later. So just to provide you a little introduction to Shravani Dengari, who's our second speaker. She's from the 2008 batch of BITS Hyderabad, and she graduated in 2013 EC and MSc Economics, so she's a dualite. She joined NVIDIA in 2013 and worked there for 6 years as a senior system software engineer. She always had a passion for fitness from the time she can remember. So because of which, down the line, she got the idea of FitRim and studied fitness through a lot of certifications, but also nutrition. And she's trained a number of people all over Hyderabad, but because of the pandemic, she went online. And that, I guess that was a little more benefit to all of us in the Bitsian community, because we get to see all her amazing videos and learn from her. And so FitRim is now an online channel on YouTube and on Facebook, where she's always sharing, a number of videos every single day. So thank you, Shravani, for joining us. So looking forward to your presentation and the exercise that you'll lead us into.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So good evening, first of all, to all of you here, and thank you for inviting me to this very important event. It's going very good. I'm learning a lot of things myself. So, okay, if you're good to start, I'll share my screen and start off. Yeah. So now it's a very well-known fact from ages that physical exercise improves your quality of life drastically, and this is not at all a revelation anymore, I guess. The importance of physical fitness and mental well-being has been in place from the time of ancient Greek civilization. And if you go ahead and read through the quotes of Hippocrates, you will be wondered how much each and every statement made by him is, to the point with regard to exercise, nutrition, mind, and well-being in every aspect of life. Now you already got to hear to the amazing and actually very insightful. I learned many new things here from Devita Rao on mental health. So I will just take few minutes on few points that I think need to be mentioned today when it's when mental health is being looked from the aspect of physical exercise. So if you ask me, why should I exercise? Of course, there are hundreds of benefits and reasons to exercise out there, but I will give you two very basic answers, which I find the most beneficial. Firstly, how did you grow up? So this is a, like Devita said, there are two sides, physiological and psychological. So coming to the physiological reason, so after you were born, you have not moved much for some months. Then you slowly start to turn around and lie on your stomach, and then slowly you start crawling, and then slowly you start to walk and then run. So all this while you were moving your body in the manner you want it to be. So if you want to keep walking and running properly all your life, you have to keep moving, because your muscle function basically is to make you move. So if you don't use it properly and don't put those muscles to work, then they don't evolve or build to support your movements as you age in your life. So they just keep losing muscle mass and make it more difficult for you to move. But I'm sure you don't want that. Of course, you want to do all your daily activities by yourself, even in your 80s and 90s, of course. And you want to walk, run, and dance and do whatever you want to do, irrespective of your age. Of course, not to forget here, you need to feed your muscles and your body good food in order for all of this to happen. Like, this is a full cycle. And coming to my second answer, which is the psychological reason that she mentioned. Physical exercise helps your body produce feel good and happy hormones. It produces happiness naturally if you look at it from that point of view. So physical exercise definitely has an impact on your mental health. And as we all know, there are many other aspects to mental health, and physical exercise is maybe just one of many practices that helps in maintaining your mental health, but it's really very effective in boosting your mind if you do it the right way. So coming to how to do physical exercise if you're looking to have its effect on your mental health. So if you're one of those who are using physical exercise to, improve or maintain your mental health, or also in general too, this applies in general also. There are 3 points to remember. The first one is regarding sleep. So physical exercise is known to make you happier than when you started. But if you're doing your session at the cost of your sleep, then what I believe is there's no point there. For example, there are many people I have seen who are ready to work out irrespective of their highly busy work schedules and very less number of sleep hours, just to shed the weight they are planning to lose. But unfortunately, the fact here is that compromising on your sleep and working out might not help you lose weight, and on top of it, it might make you more unhealthy. Of course, on some days, like if you had less sleep for some reason, and then exercising can actually make you stay more alert at work. There is this side of aspect also, but this does not work if you do it on every day. You can't apply for everyday business. Every day you can't compromise on your sleep and affect your health. So when you're sleeping, you're actually not being unproductive. You're just working on your mental fitness. So sleep is like a very good natural medicine. I think Devita will have more insight on this. And the second point is regarding what's the mindset with which you're starting your session. I think there is a question where if you're already in a mentally disturbed state, how do you think physical exercise will calm you down? So you have to do it consciously. That is one of the ways. because you have to remember to calm yourself down from everything that is going on in your mind before you reach your session. So say you're frustrated or irritated on some issue and you start your exercise session with the same mindset, you can't do a fruitful session. You can't do a completely fruitful session. So some might end up less disturbed and some might end up being even more disturbed. So all in all, to get most out of your session, please be mindful of your session. Take a deep breath before you start. This applies to even if you're not stressful, like doing it mindfully, basically. So you have to calm yourself down consciously, feel every movement that you're doing with your body. So the more you do your exercise session with your mind, the more you can achieve, is what I have experienced also. So this basically comes from the concept of mindfulness. So not only exercise, but being mindful in whatever you're doing in a day at that point of time. So being eating mindfully, mindful spending of time with family, mindful exercise. So all of this has a major effect in maintaining mental peace and mental balance in your busy day. So I think many people are practicing mindfulness these days, as far as what I'm seeing. But I think it should be done in every concept of your day, like when you're eating, when you're exercising, when you're moving your body, when you're spending time with your kid or family. That has a major effect on your mental health. So the same applies to your exercise as well. Now, the last point which I wanted to mention um, is regarding the progression. So just keep your exercise session mindful and soulful, and keep exploring different physical movements. That's it to it. So just keep checking if you're progressing peacefully, and don't stress too much upon which form of physical exercise should I go into, or which, or even don't stress too much upon rushing into progressing faster, like how fast am I losing my weight, like how far I'm progressing in a particular yoga pose, or how am I looking when compared to others? How are they progressing so much faster? So basically, never try to fast track anything looking at others or by yourself. So anything that is fast track does not stay for long, is what we have seen practically also. So never ever compare your journey or progress with others. Do everything at your own pace, because no one here is to judge you or your body. It's your body, so take it at your own pace. No problem in that. So I think these are the very few points, but I thought very important points which need to be mentioned when you're at looking at from the concept of physical exercise. So I think I can jump into the quick exercise session. So all kinds of exercise you can do at home are all over the internet, and there's a lot of help out there for you to start your exercises if you're still yet to start. But Bitta Sahaya and Empower are doing a great job in bringing mental health awareness, and the backdrop of today's webinar too is the same. So I would like to show you some movements which can help you relieve your stress or anxiety if you're feeling so in a day. Like this can be done anytime you feel overwhelmed or anxious or stressed at any time in a day. So I have 10 such exercises or movements for you today. So maybe you can pin my window, like be able to view in full screen. Also, if it's at least 2 hours or a couple of hours or more from your full meal today, I guess you can also join me in doing these and see yourself if it's helping. So I will stop sharing and I'll get on to the mat.
Awesome.
You can join at your homes.
I'm excited. So what I'll do is maybe make you like, 1 second. So I'm gonna pin your video so that everybody can see it big screen.
Yeah, sure. Done?
Yeah, we can see you fine.
Yeah. I'll tell you 10 movements which you can do at any time in a day actually. So I keep doing this even when I'm rushing in kitchen, and I'll just come up and do these movements. So first one is a very, very popular one, which is child's pose. I'll just give you the basic instructions on how to do it so that you can follow if you have a mat. So just, or anywhere you can do. So just sit in Vajrasana first, okay? Keep your back straight, okay? So now try to bring your torso close to your thighs, okay? Put your elbows first on mat. So try to keep your heels and glutes. Glutes are your hips. So try to keep your heels and glutes as together as possible. It's okay even if you are coming up. So the whole point here is to reduce your and become more peaceful and comfortable in whatever pose you're doing. Okay, so you can put your elbows down on mat first and bring your torso or your upper body as much close to your thighs as possible, and then slowly go forward. To lengthen your spine as much as possible and try to slide forward and just stay here for a couple of seconds. So doing any of these poses, you have to be doing deep breathing, which will help you in becoming more calmer. So this is a basic child's pose. Okay, so there is a variation here which you can do, which will also relieve your stress in your upper body. Okay, so once you go into Vajrasana, you can do your chest stretch here. So this is a basic chest stretch which you do, which will also stretch your arms, shoulders. Okay, so you'll interlace your fingers from back. Okay, and make your hands straight and push your chest forward, look front. Okay, once you're comfortable here, do the same movement which you've done in child's pose. Bend forward slowly. Okay, maybe touch your forehead on mat. Become comfortable at every step you're doing. Okay, or maybe bring your hands a little up if you can. Don't force too much on any joint. Right? So you can stay here for some time. So you can slowly take back, stay here. And also you can interlace your fingers behind your heels if you can hold them, so that you can feel like one unit all through the body. This is a very stress relieving thing which I do. I hope it's working for you. Then slowly you can release and also face your palms upwards, put it on mat and just lie down. So all these are just variations in the child's pose which you can do. Then is the cat cow poses, the cat cow stretches, which are again very heard of. Okay, so this majorly relieves the strain in your spine, which is the majorly affected part in your day. So come to tabletop. This is a tabletop, wrist under shoulders, knees under hips. Okay, then you'll make arch your back as much as possible, look up as much as possible. So you have to open your upper body here, widen your shoulders, and do the reverse of this. So you'll round your spine. Try to look at your navel, which you might not see it, but try to look at that. Round your spine as much as possible. So this will be repeating. This is a huge stress reliever for your spine. Okay. Then coming to one more stress which will be relieved in your upper body. Okay, so all these things you have to do mindfully, like see where which muscles are actually stretching. You don't have to know the names of the muscles. Just keep a check on where you're actually stretching it consciously. So from tabletop, you'll be just taking your upper body front, like you're just taking your hand front, keeping your glutes over knees. You'll not take your glutes back or forward. It will be over knees. Okay, and just take your upper body forward. So try to touch your forehead down on mat first. Okay, you have to engage your core in all these, by the way. Keep your core tight. So once you're comfortable on your forehead, you can also touch your chin so that your shoulders are even more widened. Like your ribcage is literally stretching out open. You can touch your chin on mat. Okay, this is a huge stress reliever for the upper body. And coming to warrior pose, I hope you're following them. Anyone wants to ask any question in the exercise movements, you can ask, unmute now, because later again it'll pass on. Okay. So coming to warrior poses, like Divita mentioned, confidence is one of the major thing which will affect your mental health. So warrior poses are, when you go into warrior pose itself, you'll feel more confident than before. So that's the point here. So we'll do warrior one pose, which is very simple. Okay. So in the same distance width you stand, you'll take one leg back. Okay. Keep it a little outside, like 45 degrees. Okay. Keep your core engaged. Okay. So keeping your shoulders wide, as much wide as possible, is more than ever required in warrior poses because it's more focused on being confident. Okay. So here you just raise your hands. Keep your core engaged. Look front. You have to feel like a warrior. I hope you are. Okay. So then as a warrior two pose, you'll have 2-3 stretches here. So stretching, all in all, stretching any part of the body, in fact, will relieve stress in your body and in your mind. So these are the few of the very basic ones which you can do easily. So to go into warrior two, you'll just stand wide, okay, and take one foot completely to one side. Okay, don't turn completely, just take your foot. Okay, then take your knee over to the ankle. Don't take your weight completely. Just take your knee over the ankle, hold your weight in the center. Holding your weight in the center is the key. Okay, and then extend your hands parallel to the mat. Okay, and then look to the side of the where you've sent your leg to. Because the warrior two pose, this itself is very good pose, which instills a lot of confidence in you. Right, so here there's a stretch where you can stretch your body to the opposite side. Keep your core engaged. Okay. Some of the side stretches in warrior. Maybe look up if you can. Okay. Then set your warrior two again. Okay. So now we'll be stretching to this side. Keep your core tight and feel the stretch where you're stretching onto your side body. Okay. Keep your core tight and look up. Try to look at your fingertips. Okay. And then come back, recenter your warrior two pose. Keep your core engaged. Then you just stretch here. This is a side angle pose where you just keep your forearm on your thigh. Okay, and then side stretch. Or maybe look up. Right? So there are many other variations here, but these are the very basic ones which you can do easily. and also feel the benefit of it. Then this you can take as a sequence. The next one we are doing, where we go from plank to lunge positions. So we'll be shifting from plank to lunge continuously. So first you forward bend, okay, go to plank. This is a plank. Okay, then take one leg forward, okay, and come up to lunge very slowly, keeping your core tight, right? And maybe raise your hands if you're comfortable here. Okay, and then go back to plank, right? And then on the other side, repeat the same. Engage your core, come up slowly. You should feel your hip flexors stretching here. Right, go down and go to plank. So this sequence, you can repeat it. This is one small part of Surya Namaskar, but doing this separately also will have a lot of effect. It's like a complete movement of your body. Then there is a pike position which you can hold. The various levels at which you can hold your pike, okay? But the one which you hold in the center, like it's almost same as down dog, but your heels will be off the mat. Okay, so just from plank, you can start and try to go to as much V as you can. V position, right? You can raise your heels. So here you're concentrating your weight completely in the center using your core. Right? So try to hold this position. It's a huge breather for your hamstrings, for your legs, and also for your upper body. And also your core is engaged like anything here. So it's like a total body, stress reliever. Then there's a double knee hug, which you can do. Lie down on mat. This affects majorly you'll feel the stretch in the lower back. Lie down on mat. Crunch properly. Don't strain your neck. Keep your neck length proper. Come up and hug your knees completely. Okay. Try to stay here. Don't push any pose. Right? If you're here, it's fine, but don't just handle it. Just lie down. If you're here also, it's fine. Right? So hug as much as you can and hold. So in any pose, you should be able to breathe very comfortably. If you're not comfortable, then try to make it comfortable consciously. Like breathe consciously and try to relax your heavy breath if you have so. So we are in the last pose. So I'm making a butterfly lying down. So this is a butterfly. Okay. So I'm making a butterfly. Lie down on your mat. Make a butterfly with your legs. Okay. So here also your core is not relaxed. Your core is more you engage your core, the more you'll be aware of your body. So core is your center. So engage your core, make a butterfly, and just place your hands on the on your thighs. Or you can just place it on your stomach. It's a very, very simple pose, but it's very relaxing. So this is the 10. I hope someone has done it at your places.
Yeah.
Yes,
I hope.
Yes, thank you. I just have a very basic, and I don't know, it's a very basic question. When people say keep your core engaged and core tightened in that, what do we actually mean by that? Like, how do you do that when you're actually in the middle of the exercise?
Oh,
It
man.
always confused me.
Yeah, core tight is like I feel core tight is itself a big book to write. So so we basically get used to how. So even if I tell it in words, I will for sure tell you how to keep your core tight now. But as you keep doing it consciously, then you'll understand in different exercises that, oh, okay, this is core tight. this is what I should be doing all these days. So core tight is basically, so what is core? Mid body. Your mid body is your core. So anything that is stabilizing your body, whole body. So your mid body should be pulled to the center. First step. So what is your mid body is your obliques, your abdomen, your everything, and also some of your lower back muscles and some of your glute muscles. So core has many muscles apart from abdominals. So you can imagine core as a full mid body as one box for your imagination, and try to pull all the muscles to center, like up, side to center, and then push it back to spine. So there are 2 steps when you say core tight. Bring your mid body to center is the first step. Second step is to push back to spine. That is the most important step. So when you push back to spine, then you are giving a support to your spine, like your spine is safe whatever you do. So that is the meaning of core tight.
But I have one more question there, just to clarify for some people, Shravani, that you're breathing normally, even though if you're holding your core tight, you're breathing normally and breathing deeply, right? It doesn't affect your breathing differently. Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah. Core tight should not be, combined. You should not confuse between breathing and core tight. I think many do that. But core tight is different. You have to breathe with your lungs engaged.
Correct.
Core tight is your mid body.
Yeah. Okay. That was amazing. I could already feel relaxed by probably just like by the time I reached that cat cow thing only. Yeah. And in general, I think, like you said, like especially the lunge and plank part, when you start doing it, like your breath rate goes faster, but I think as it comes down, it actually makes you feel so much better. So I hope more people will try it out. Maybe
I hope
people here, the audience here, to in fact try this, and maybe even leave a comment. We'll have a YouTube video of this available later, so we would love to have them come back and post their comments on the video to say if it helped them and how it helped them. So
sure.
Thank you so much. Did you want to add anything else before we went to questions?
No, I guess that's it from my side. And we can take questions, and I can take any from in the aspect of physical exercise.
Yeah, perfect. So while we wait for questions for you, Shravani, there's one, I think, which came for Devata during her presentation at the very end. I think the question was how to handle situations where other people are making you feel inferior. Shall I ignore their statement or introspect myself? This is from Ravi.
Okay. So, you know what? I have a set of questions which you can actually ask yourself. So let me share my screen here, and let me, I would want you to challenge your thought exactly by doing that. So when other people, so first of all, realize and recognize nobody can make you feel bad about yourself without your permission. That is a fact. So why are you letting, and second is, why am I letting other people live in my brain rent free? Right? There's no point of allowing people to live rent free. Why am I doing
That's a good one.
Very good one.
Yeah. So the minute I think about it, immediately something within me changes. I'm like, yeah, so what about it? So that is when you get that confidence is restored, and then you move forward with it. So that these could be the two very important things. And let me just start sharing my screen, and I would want you to actually challenge your thoughts and ask yourself these questions. So I hope you can see my screen. Yes. So these are the very basic questions regarding any situations whatsoever you face in you being stuck in any situation, and you feel something else is becoming overwhelming and daunting for you. Always ask, is it a fact or opinion? So this is how you go about it. Is there substantial evidence for my thought? Is there evidence contrary to my thought? Oh, I prepared a cake for him and he didn't like it. Did I even ask him? Perhaps he's not hungry. You know, people have to be hungry and in the mood to be having that sweet thing. Maybe he really doesn't want to right now. Doesn't mean that I didn't cook it well. Why am I immediately taking upon me? Detach yourself from the identity. Am I attempting to interpret the situation without all the evidence? Am I jumping to the conclusions? Or is it like a all or none thinking? Either people will praise me, or the minute they say something, you know what, I am a failure. no, life doesn't exist in that. It's not all or none. And we do not have to jump to the conclusion. Yes, we do have reptilian brain, and we do imagine the worst case possible always. That has been conditioned within us, but we can always rewire ourselves. That is the wonderful capacity that all of us have. We can reprogram every single time. So it's all about awareness. So the more conscious you become that why am I letting this happen to me time and again? What is the evidence for it? Is there something contrary? What would a friend think about this situation? Think about your best friend. Maybe your sibling is your best friend. Maybe one of your, your parent is a best friend. And you think, what will they think about this situation had they been in this situation? And always one of the friends who kind of sort of inspires you and you always admire that person, think about that person. And then say, oh, what would he or she, I wonder if what would they think in this situation that I'm in? You will come up with amazing answers, because the minute you detach yourself from this personality that you are, you have some wonderful, amazing advice for your own self. That what, if I am this other person, oh, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that, and suddenly you find a perspective. Then ask yourself, if I look at the situation positively, how is it different? In fact, take the positive word out, make it neutral, make it practical. You can have a /practical/neutral, and then how is it different? Then say, will this matter in a year from now, even 5 years from now? In fact, the way our attention span is reducing, even it is, will it ever be affecting you even within a week, in the next week also? Perhaps it will not, right? So it's very important to think about this. So
Awesome.
this is the question.
That was amazing. Can I add something there, Devata?
Yes.
Been told is that people think about you for just 20 to 30 seconds. When they even have an opinion about you, the only moments that they can give you, because they have their own life to live, right? So they're not thinking of you for more than 20, 30 seconds. So why are we choosing that one person's 20 to 30 seconds of thought and making it our entire life?
Absolutely true. Yes, very true.
That's what has helped me more than anything else to
Yes.
overcome the fear of ridicule or fear of, this log kya kahenge. I mean, like I actually replied to Kailash sir saying, kuch to log kahenge. And, I said, logon ka kuch to kehna hai. And the fact is, wo 20 seconds bolenge, 30 seconds sochenge, but then it's your life. And that's what matters. So
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. Exactly. This is the truth. I mean, it's really very helpful and very, very powerful. If we apply it every single time in our life, it's amazingly powerful. We should
exactly.
keep doing that. Yes.
All right. Any more questions for Shravani? I do have a question for Shravani, by the way. But maybe people will ask more questions first. Anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask something, or just tell how amazing Shravani has been? Yeah, it takes a lot of confidence, by the way, to do it, right? Coming on a webinar and doing this, that's one thing I think, like I wanted to add, Shravani, is that, the more you work on your physical self, mentally it builds your confidence, right? Like the way you just push up
Yes.
your shoulders during a particular pose, right? And it's
Yes,
the
yes.
same, like when you're going to speak on a stage, what they tell you is just breathe and make your chest broad, so you can
Body language.
confidence, right? It's the same.
Yeah.
That doesn't come until you have actually done it physically 100 times on your yoga mat. That's my take. And so I think when you mentioned about the whole, be confident in the warrior pose, that was my favorite part.
They make do many body language, movements before going to stage for many people for public speaking skills. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. So one question I had for you, how many days do you think people should like do these 10 poses that you've suggested, to see really like a benefit? I mean, and maybe like just an understanding of like how many minutes a day and how many days. What's your recommended time frame?
Like in general exercise or these movements? Yes.
Because that's now our reference point for stress-free living
Uh,
and to help our
oh,
mental
every day, how many times ever you can do in a day? Because these are not very just keeping aside the plank to lunge, which is can come into a little cardio category if you do it faster based on how your pace is. Remaining all, I think they're just very normal and very gentle stretches, given that you're doing them gently. Like if you're doing it one push, it might not feel right. But given that you're doing it gently, do how many ever times you can do in a day, how many, like regularly every day.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm already always, for me, I think breathing is very important. I do a stretch even between work every couple hours. But I think yeah, you've inspired me to probably go back to the mat a couple times a day rather than just this one time where it's like the end of the day and you're exhausted and then you're
Nice, do it.
I'll do it. I'll definitely. Thank you so much for that. We got a lovely comment from Ravi. I guess we answered his question as well. Right, Lulita? He said, "Thank you. You people are amazing. Keep the good work going." And genuinely, I think it applies to both of you for all the amazing work you've been doing. And
It applies to you too, majorly, for creating this platform.
Yes, exactly. To be having that commitment and definitely like every month keeping this whole thing going. I mean, kudos to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. That's very exciting. Thanks to both of you for your time and all the amazing work. I think, Devita, one thing we wanted to check is, we'll have the toolkit and the checklist that you have shared. Can that be available as resources? Maybe we just put them either as documents, like in PDF format, or we share them somehow through email with the participants at least, but also look at what else we can do to promote it among the Bitsian community.
Okay, so yes, I'll share them with you in the PDF format. Okay, both of them together, and you can share it further. And then for some reason, suddenly I also came up with the 2 more techniques if people can apply that, continuing with the question only, with a lot of comparison and the people pleasing that we indulge into, and people's opinions sort of matter to us a lot more than our own opinion. It's very important to see with public speaking, or even when you're going out, compassion really works. So compassion works in both the ways. So how do you when you are on the stage, or even when you go out, try applying it, that what, each and every one of this person, if I'm entering into a room, and I also have done that, and it really immensely helped me, and it has helped so many other people that I work with. So the minute I enter a room, I say every single one of them loves me. They just don't know it yet. That's it. So I have immense
and many people,
compassion.
Many people who like us, they don't tell us also.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
People are
so it's exactly the same. Yes. So even when you go out, even when you actually go out and you're out there, so you can actually say this. And then another one wonderful technique is if you talk to somebody, if you really are intimidated, or if you are intimidated by other people's opinion, if you find it impacting your confidence, what you can do is, like, in your mind, you imagine that, this person owes you money. The minute you believe that this person owes you something, you had given him or her something, and they owe you something, there's a certain amount of confidence and authority with which you talk to that person. Then you're like, what, dude, I am like in my space, you better not barge into mine. So you are very confident and sure of your own presence. That is very important. So if you can apply these few tricks.
2 new techniques for me to apply starting today.
I have a question. Sorry to come in last, but can I ask the question?
Sure.
It is for both of them. I put it in the chat box also, but I just need a quick answer. Is that when you are in a state of mental wellness wherein you are not feeling okay, is it the mind which is driving to a physical activity, or will physical activity will drive the mind? I mean, how it is, how to balance that? Because you are not exactly in the mental state to kind of get into a physical exercise, and you don't feel like doing a physical exercise. So how to motivate your mind to get into the physical exercise mode so that your mind becomes okay? I mean, it is a supplementary, complementary thing. So how to go about it?
You were saying, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually a deadlock. That's right. So first we have to. So basically, we're not doing exercise all through the day, right? We are fixing some time to do the session. So we know beforehand that this is my session time. So if I'm say not mentally like very peaceful when doing my session, which will be most of the times of many of the days, many of us. So then we have to, anything should be done consciously is what I believe. Like if you say if you say someone calm down, it's not going to work. Like they have to know how to do it themselves and do it consciously. So you have to relax your mind. Like there's one whole point regarding that which I mentioned because I thought that's important. We have to calm ourselves down, take deep breath, and we have to just switch off whatever is happening very consciously. And this is not very easy, actually. It's not. It's like easier said than done. But I found and I experienced that's the only way. Because if you do it in a session, all through the session mentally, when if you're mentally disturbed for some reason, and if you do the session with the same mental state, I found that it is carrying over. Like by the end of the session, you're not very as peaceful as you should be if you do it the right way. Yeah.
Right.
Devita, you want to add something?
Yeah. So if you look at, see, sometimes our thinking mode is very active. Physicality is something which gets you out of that thinking mode and gets you doing, and that is when you create a little distance and you find the confidence. So in any situation, there are 5 components. So let's say the situation happened, then there are thoughts about it, then there are emotions about it, and then there are your physical sensations in the body, and then that is when you take up an action. Now in that moment, and it applies to both the when you're stuck in the negative cycle, you are going to have certain thoughts about it, you're going to feel a certain way, like I'm going to have an emotion of anger, and then I'm going to feel very breathless. And when I'm agitated, irritated, and breathless, that is when I take up that action, that you know what, I have to react back. I have to either shout back at you. So that is the action. And this is what I want to change. So the idea is to focus on the physical sensation. The minute you redefine it for yourself, the action also changes. So especially when it comes to exercise, there are times in our life when we really feel very good after that physical activity, and we remember that feeling, you know, that yogic tranquility or the runner's high. We remember that feeling in that zone, that space. When you feel I'm very demotivated today, I just feel disinterested today, something else has been bothering me, first of all, if you can breathe, okay, and then second of all, remember just going back to that sensation. The minute that physical sensation is activated within your body, your brain remembers it and automatically stimulates you to take that action, and this is how you repair and change that action. So then you create a different evidence for yourself. So yes, even though, and then you create exception cases for yourself. The next day you demotivated, you go back to the reference to that particular day, like, yeah, that day also I was disinterested, but this one thing changed, and yet I went out, and this is the evidence that yes, I do have it in me. Then I don't put myself down. So this idea is to always remember that final action, and then the feeling that it gave you, that whole experience, the feeling, always remember the feeling. If the next time you're out there and it gives you a very good high sort of adrenaline rush after doing an exercise, I would want you to be very consciously remembering that feeling, that whole feeling, that how did it feel? Oh my God, it was amazing. I felt like, you know, aaj to main duniya fateh kar lunga. Like that sort of a feeling that you have. So remembering that in your brain is very important. The minute you remember it, and it's actually, you know, Michael Phelps, it said that he, every single day, the morning he got up, he visualized himself to go and win the gold medals, because his teachers always told him that he's good for nothing. He was not allowed to go into the regular school. His mother fought for him to get the regular education. The only technique he learned from his counselor in school was to visualize, to remember that feeling. How will it feel like that the minute you win those awards? And he did it every single day before going for a practice, and he made it happen. So it's actually remembering that, because something within your body changes, the whole physiological, the way your body reacts changes. So it's you know, again, the psychological, physiological component, this is how it works. So when we have imagination, why don't we use it for our favor?
Great, and Shamini, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great, really good insights. Really, how do I say, actionable things that we can do to remember. Yeah, I think I shared as well that the runner's high and dancer's high that I've experienced. I think I keep going back to it and remind myself, that's how good I felt. That's how I'm going to dance today. So yeah, that's all we needed to know. That was very helpful. So if you don't have any more questions, I would like to really, thank you both for the wonderful work you do, and for being a part of the Bitsa Sahai webinar series. Very grateful for the whole Empower team, the FitTrim team behind this coming together. Thank you so much. And of course, the Sahaya team as well, Hardik, Saket, and everyone who has helped us come here, Kailash sir, for your constant support. And I hope to get this message out to everyone in the form of a YouTube video as well soon. So look forward to that. So thank you again. Yeah, go on.
I actually want to know how many of you stretched along with me.
I did. I don't know who else wants to say yes. Maybe unmute yourself and say yes. Or you know, if you want to do it afterwards, watching the YouTube video, also
Yes, please do that. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that Hardik was sick, but he's been here to support us because he's the main logistics person for this recording. So thank you so much, Hardik. All right, everyone, have a good evening, and yeah, stay happy. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.